Good morning. All right, so buyers get a little tired trying to push it up, and things are moving down, as you can see a little bit. We always look down to where? Oh, down to the bottom of the trading range. So we'll see if it breaks it down below here. And it's been kind of boring as far as markets go here, as most things been just flip-flopping back and forth, a lot of whips. Even yesterday's impressive rally early in the morning after the gap down, and then giving it almost all back by the end of the day. So futures coming down to support, probably get down there. Can see they continue to move lower. And we'll see if buyers are going to show up there. Let's see others, if they're any worse, not, about the same. Or NASDAQ, come down there. Ultimately, maybe it gets to the lower part of the range today. And if it does, I suspect, and I'll show you why, it's going to get dragged back. As you know, today's options expiration, triple witching. So while it may seem a little, large, the move first here and where it's going to go, I wouldn't get too caught up in that, as these options expire. A lot of times it'll drag it back to some point. Uh, YM coming down to support. And the Russell, the better of the sell setups. It's already down here at support and it's got room to drop. We just look to the next level and we'll see how far it continues to go. So you've got a little, it's not a 1, 2, 3 because it's in a downtrend. We always say that, okay, it's a 1, 2, maybe it's a 3. The pattern, the 2-bar pattern would be called such, but you always have to put in the context of the trend. Did it break out? So on and so forth. Where's it going? So this is more of what we call a breakout bar failure, where it takes out 2 or more bars highs and you get an inside bar and now it's breaking the low. And so we've seen this pattern before and it usually results in a move lower because it's a bit of a shock pattern, as it does suggest a move up, even though this is in a downtrend, it can move up to the next level. So that's failed. And when you have failed, even questionable buy setups, it increases sellers or supply. Look at other markets. Gold highs, consolidating, a little extended. Oil. The big question, does it break down below this support here? Here's the monthly chart, and you can see, that would be relatively ominous because where would it stop going down? And plus and minuses, plus would be lower price of gas and goods that require oil products and so on. Bad signal for the economy if it was to happen. And that brings us to looking at interest rates, which moved lower yesterday and the market rallied in light of that. So probably more options expiration activity, but you can see this topping type of a pattern on interest rates, which suggests they're going to come down, another bad sign for the economy. And, if they break below here, this was from our measured move analysis over a month ago. If they continue to go down here, buy TLT bonds, right? Or short TBT. So TLT is the ETF for bond prices and TBT is interest rates. So I'm looking at this. It kind of has the look of a kind of weird head and shoulders kind of a top. But what's weird about it is how low the right shoulder would be. But you can see that support there. And Dan mentioned from somebody yesterday about quantitative easing. And the whole point of that is to lower intermediate long-term interest rates. So while they're not touching the Fed funds rate, they're going to do, if they're going to follow through on that, what they're going to do is lower the intermediate to longer term interest rates. And all of that is bad. And then you'll hear more talk about recession and stagflation and so on and so forth. But eventually things will reach a point where value, you know, uh, they'll reach a point where they'll be attractive to, things, the market to buy. And then it's always individual stocks. All right. Silver, we didn't look at. Pulling back. Watch for a buy signal as it pulls back into here. Yep. Transports. You know, down momentum, strong momentum. Most times you get a lower low to where the momentum slows, right? The distance between the pivots, or a pivot and a turn. We haven't gotten that yet. So if transports break down below here, here's the next level. And if this is going to follow through, the selling, again, option expiration can be a turning point, right? So the last option expiration was the market high. This option expiration could be a turning point, or it could be a continuation of the trend. Right? And so if it's a continuation of the trend, that would bring these markets we're looking at to the next support levels. It would bring these market internals in much better alignment to call something more than a short-term bottom, more of an intermediate-term bottom. And so this was, prices moving down. You had strong momentum. And so the next lower low, right, wherever that may be, whether that's, we'll look at SPX 5,500 could be today, right? Or, whatever, next week, but ultimately maybe 5,400. But in any event, we'll see when that all happens. All right. So, Dan, I'm going to hand it to you early today, but because everything is what it'll be. Volatility index, flipping up here, not a big deal. And so we'll just see, this was the turning point, which you can see over here on the weekly chart. Came up to this prior pivot high, and that was kind of a tell area to be looking for that low. And then we did get the final close above a prior bars high. That was one of the things we were looking for, at least for a short-term bottom, because from this high, this was the prior options expiration. There was no close above a prior bars high. So at that point, I was like, okay, test the 200, maybe somewhere in between there. It hasn't been able to do that. Rejection. And so now you see where it's at, and it's going to open here. This should be a pivot on a lower time frame, this little poke bar. And I'll come for it, and you can see the 65-minute. It's down on that 65-minute pivot there. And I think while it might stall there in the morning, I think it's unlikely it's going to hold, because it attempted to go up and failed. It attempted to go up and it failed. So now opening there, maybe initial buy the gap down, doesn't go up for whatever, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, down to these lows. So that, give or take, if it should get down there, you got this unfilled gap, set an alert, be aware of this gap area. See 55, 550, possibly the prior low. We shall see. And let me just check again, right at the bottom of that bar. All right, so now we look at SPX and premiums. So it's a little bit lower than where it was. And so the average range has been around lately. It contracted from down here about 90 points. And so, if I try and adjust this a little bit, just by eyeballing it, right? Bring it down just a titch more. That puts the high and low at around 90 points. So we know it's opening here. So 90 points above and below. And that's just, an estimate. Wild days, it could be more than what the average, of course. But that's, an objective reference point, right? So even if you extend it to 95 or what have you, and then look at your strikes. This is what it was before. Now that things are down, it's probably below 5,500, which will be even better. And so we're looking for extremes, where there's premium. So call it 54.95. So that's below there. And so would definitely, if you did it early on, would be harried. Wait, but if it goes down there, if things continue lower, odds are it's not going to go down there. And one of the reasons why it's not, I believe it's not going to go down there, because first of all, that's support and getting down there. There's going to be buyers to come down 5 strikes too. And one of the reasons it's possible to get whipsawed back is, it doesn't mean it has to get all the way back there. If it should get down that far, but that would be really far to get down to that prior low. But this open interest, right, that's the largest open interest at 5,600. 5,600. And that 5,600 has been the highest open interest for quite a while. So you've got the daily, the 0 DTE, and you've got the quarterly triple witching open interest up there. So should we get some type of large move to the downside, it hits support, it's possible this could be dragged back up a significant amount. So watch for that and just see where things where they go here in the morning. That's what we do. Look at the gap down, where's support, where's resistance, where's the trend, so on and so forth. And if it drops precipitously, there'll be premium even below that to do a spread, and it's unlikely it's getting up there. Oh, take your pick. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Yeah, copy 0 DTE doing. In last night's video, I said my bias for today was 30-minute higher low. That's just a generic bias. But look at it, 2 big old topping tails, multi-bar sell setup. But now the gap is pretty darn big. So I'm not saying I would short 30-minute low right now because the gap's too big. Yeah, Brett, I wrote those down. Give me a second. Let me get through alarms here. SMA. We posted this as a call spread yesterday. My alarm just went off. So we're not going to get filled on the credit for today. So I will be looking, see what it does in the first 30 minutes, but I like this pattern. We could do one for next week. Soon alarm. We have a put spread that's expiring today. We got the $9 ones. That's gapping just under the stop, but we should still have an open profit here because it's 30 cents away and it expires today. But I'll keep an eye on that. A bat, little bottoming pattern. I got an alarm up there, 111, nothing to do. Ango I like, I posted. Bullish turn daily, weekly and monthly buy setup. So that I like. Oh, what else did I post on KMI? Got from one of you yesterday. So it's gapping down a little bit. So I'm totally fine of buying this over the high because it's only going to go over the high if it's strong and negates the gap. And also TDS I posted. Big old inverse head and shoulder. It's not going to trigger in a weak market unless it's strong. Well, that looks good. Those are all the alarms. We're pretty light on inventory, actually. We only got those two opens. Right, let me look at yours here. And then the earnings, and then we can look at our opens. BTU, you got railroad track 2050. It's a potential bottoming pattern, but I would like it to go sideways for another week or two. NVR is better because it's above the 20 and a climb on the weekly. So I'll keep an eye on that one. VST is gapping down. Set an alarm. This one's better. It's a new low reversal with a void gapping up. So that one's okay. CLMT, I don't see any prints, but same. Looks like it could bounce to this breakdown area. That one's closer to support than 200 with a bigger void. I like that one the best, I think. Let me set an alarm. EFXT, never heard of you. I'll set an alarm 767 after an airplane. NXC. That one still looks more like a dog. I like the other ones better. The PCT, Alex. That one's not jumping out at me. I don't, just knowing you, I'm assuming a continuation breakdown, but there's no void. So I don't like that one. Let's go to earnings here. There's not many. FedEx. All right, FedEx, I got in the bottom right. It's a nasty gap. Look at the declining 2050. We've been saying the weakness in the transports, but it's gapping down $20. 24. That's huge. So my bias is a 30-minute high 0 DTE put spread. Will it set up that way? I have no friggin' idea. But that's my bias right now. I'll tell you at 10 o'clock. QUBT gapping down, no interest. Oh, that's that micro, super micro sector. MU gapping down under this consolidation. Hey, Alex, if this were in the middle, Alex, I'd say this is a no-brainer condor setup. Look, you want wide pivots of resistance, wide pivots of support with flat MAs. That is a beautiful condor, and me and my butts. But what am I going to say? What I'm going to say is I'm not doing a condor now. My full bias is 5-minute low call spread because we're closer to resistance. I baited you by saying if it were in the middle of the range. So yeah, this is a 5-minute low. Look, pre-market, it's kind of, retesting this pre-market low. So give it 5 minutes. If not, we'll see if we can get a bounce. But I like that a lot for a call spread. And here's another tier 1 of mine. NUE. Gapping under all this support. 5-minute low, call spread on that too. Back to earnings here. Nike. Also big nasty gap. Got it in the middle chart. Let's see what it does. They, for some reason, they were talking about Disney and their wokeness. I guess shareholders voted no to woke. I just don't understand why companies have to throw their politics in with running a company. Lennar getting whacked, but say that's an igniting cap. That's the gapping down $8, but look, daily, weekly, monthly. That, I mean, that's 103, 112. This might can fall another $9, but I'll watch it. Put it in the window. So that, there's so there's 90% confidence that's going to drag XHB down, major housing stuff. Oust up a little, potential bottoming pattern. And potential 30-minute high. Chill, gapping up, but no pattern. Our way, opening flat. That still looks lower, but I don't like overlapping bars like that. Curve 639 bullish gap, but that's a big move from here to 639. So I no interest. C-bus, nothing. Cruise ships, this whole sector was Climos back here. Cruise ships, jets, and hotels. Gapping down, no pattern. Coop is their foreign flagged Carnival, so they trade pretty darn close. Neo gapping down, another EV stock, garbage. I think it's XPEV, right? Yeah, I think XPEV, this chart, is this, or maybe I'm wrong. Is that XPEV a EV car? If so, this strength is telling me they're one of the survivors. Well, there's a ton of EV and battery companies going to the graveyard. COE? There's no volume. But it's actually bullish. Daily, weekly, monthly. Stagnant volume. I obviously didn't clear these out yet. That kerplunk, look at the size of that fall. Look at that. $3 stock falling over $1. That's some pain. So Good Inc. I think they better change their name. Maybe to, Not So Good Inc. Because they're not looking so hot. All right, KHC, we shorted yesterday. Nice little continuation breakdown, failed buy setup, looks good. Ango, I mentioned. Affirm potential bottoming pattern, but now it's gapping down. See how it closes. Pelletier, we're in. Has to get above, it has to close above that base. And that's the one I said call spread. Both NUE and X, I don't, they might have been gave guidance or pre-release or whatever they call it. But this one's bullish. This one is a buy on a pullback. If we get a nice buy setup. So this one I like on the long side. Laser gapping up. Yeah, that's an earnings stock. SMCI got an upgrade. This is actually a pattern. we could trade up or down. But no trigger yet. ACN had earnings yesterday, got whacked. Look at the volume. I like, it's down a lot. It's a real company. They talked about maybe losing some government contracts. LMT, I don't know what's up with this, but that's a bullish gap. That looks good. Put that in a window. 30-minute high or some type of controlled pullback. Disney I mentioned. Tesla was up in the morning. See, it was up here earlier, and I said potential put spread, but that's where all the bangs are down here, so they're going to take a while to set up. NUE, talk about KMI, we talked about, and then these came from you all this morning. All right, let me go back up upstream now. I know the people can. BST, yeah, I had that on my list too before it was gapping down. Upstart, let's see. This is where we say we want a potent reversal. There's nothing potent here. So it's just a consolidation at the 200 and a downtrend. So unless I had a decisive closing breakout, then I don't trust the turn. I still have a ton of Climbos on my watch list. Look at RH trying to make the turn. GoDaddy, we're already in. It already made the turn. Duolingo. Look, that's making the turn. This would be a put spread idea, but they're spreading. Comp. Okay, Alex, now I like this over the high. So this was one I was waiting for a closing breakout. I'll set an alarm at 9:20. Gold, nothing. Sophie, somebody mentioned yesterday, little 1, 2, 3, gapping down. Let me set an alarm at 1280. Let's say it's still in the downtrend. These are counter trend trades, which are very difficult if the broader markets are bearish. I'm getting feeling something. There were some bond funds. Yeah, Alex is totally off subject, but this SGov, I checked the returns and they were horrible, like 3.8%. So I'm gonna talk to you about some sector rotation and bond funds. So yeah, that's what that bill was. All right, Delta, alarm. This is another Climo that was making the turn. That NUE, I said, check out a call spread. But they're going to be spreading. Delta 40. Oh no, I never moved the stop lower on Delta. Let's move it 44.93 Delta. Yeah, I never tightened the stop. Yeah, I'm in no hurry to do anything this today.
Tesla moving up. Maybe it has a turn day.
Yeah, I posted a telegram that is puts 0 DTE or
Mm, yeah, you should.
we're already in the levered directional. But yeah, that's coming out of the gate fire. Wow, there's only one green Dow 30. Procter and Gamble for 20 cents. That's some
So
weakness.
these got to look at individuals, but I'm looking at the fangs here. Other than Tesla, they can go lower. They were end of day bases, so they're gapping down from a base. So gap fill short ideas. Um, Meta was the strongest, but it gave it all back. That got bought, so I intend to leave that one alone. But it's more bearish news on Apple. SPX is at 5,600. It may just get stuck there for a while. We'll see.
We have the 9, 7.5. We covered half yesterday, I think. But yeah, we still have a profit here. 6 cents. Let's move it. 9.28. Wow, yeah, Tesla. Let me check figures.
So there was an article in the journal about leveraged ETFs, and it was stating the obvious, but it's like how these leveraged ones, how people made tons of money as like what was it, MSTR and Tesla and some others when things were going up, and now some of them are like down 80%. But they're not supposed to be holding them, but if you're trading, people will do that.
All right, Greg, let's monitor this. We can do the 230s, $10 wides, 85 cents. So just
What strike?
230.
Expires today.
Yeah, just gonna tell me when. Now, market falling. We got it. That's 50% retracement.
Well, it's pulling in a little. I mean, the timing is more difficult. I mean, if it pulls, under 238, maybe we'll see if you can get below 230. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, trying to pick the point. If it's really that bullish, it's not going to pull back that far to say like, you know, 236 is, but it might have, the top of those pivots on the 5-minute chart. If it was to pull back into there, that's where I would be looking. And right now, it's just hanging up near that prior high from yesterday.
I just gave it and went lower.
I mean, if you want to wait for a pullback, you know
No,
the story. It might not. You miss it, and if you're okay with missing, miss it. Otherwise, you wait for your pitch on a pullback, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
too late. I gave it. And now they might miss it because it's rallied from after it posted them. That Peltier low alarm. We have a put spread and directional. Nike's not bouncing. That's an igniting gap. Looks ugly. And the FedEx. But let me see what the juice bar is. 2 10s for today or 40 cents to make it. What about this? Oh, SMH. Look at that. Even looks like a directional. But market's kind of just bobbling here on hourly support. And let me check call spreads for next week. The 230s. Yeah, let's do this. 230, 235. Was that you or your dog?
Somebody talking to me on social media, giving me suggestions for MT Live. I'm thinking maybe.
EDS up alarm. Yeah, once ago. Gap reversal. Actually, this SMH. Let's wait. See if we can wait for a bounce for $1. It's 90 cents now. TDS. Yeah, this one doesn't have weeklies and they're spreading. And go. Oh, and go over the high. Good to go. You. Yeah, fell too much. So now, Alex, I would do a condor because we are in the middle of the range now. So the 105s, not enough juice, 26 cents. Yeah. Well, but you know what? Sometimes I can do a 1 or 2 wide, and because you're getting them on both sides, here, give me a second. It still might work. So that's 12 cents. And on the low side, 86. Or 85 even. Okay, so you're still getting the 10% rule. It's 21 cents. And 85, 83 is 21. So, if that's a trade you like. Now it's 22. I kind of like on condors getting 15%. So if it were more like 30, I would do it. But it's an idea. Then UE looks horrible. Oh, I didn't look on this yet. Shoot. That'd be the 132.50s. If they have them. Nope, not enough juice and spreading. Comp alarm, but this looks like a directional too. That's horrible. Um, Ideally, this just closes like this. TDS triggered. El Lima, Brenda mentioned yesterday. Upstart, that's not making the turn. Labidiac, we looked at yesterday. KMI has to get over the highs. Shoe from yesterday. Ooh, that failed. Let's see, it wasn't a potent turn. Sophie is still okay over yesterday's sign. XCL over those highs. EIX. Still got whacked, I guess, with NUE. JBI gave it up. I mean, it never triggered. Abgo could not make the turn. It's now under the green bar. This was a Climo I've been watching for a while. ALGT, Delta, we're in. Cruise ship, nothing. White House was a Climo, failed. See that would have been good over these highs. But no, that failed. Hilton failed. The hotels are failing. Unsay still bullish. On Daku. B-Zone failed. Bank stock. At X no bounce. MU we talked about big old fat range down. And Nike woke. Look at that monthly breakdown. Look at that monthly chart. That CEO, I guarantee you, is not having a good day. Board of directors are gonna ream his you know what out. Lennar looks horrible. There, Lazar, there you go. Red bar ignored, continuation breakout. That looks good. Check $7 puts. All right, so far we're holding here. $7 puts for next week. 30 by 48. Wow. On 7-6, they're spready, but 22 cents. I'm gonna nibble. Filled 22 cents. All right, so let's put spread one. There's just no patterns to a 0 GTE here. Unless, you just, this actually is a condor day. You could do above yesterday's high and down here, do a condor on SPX. Have that gap, but it's slumping. Yeah, he's too spreading. Q's nice move here. Off the low.
Nobody wants a short down here with that gap. You're just waiting for it to come up to where it broke through yesterday's low. Or if I put SPX, today's old. That must be yesterday's. What SPX doesn't gap as much, so gotta look at SPY as to that area. You can short TNA or the Russell if you're willing to give it a bunch of room. Just about the high of the day. Might get whipsawed and give it twice as much room as above the high of the day.
Yeah. S&P mid cap. Yeah, looks lower, sure. Not for our ETF letter because it's down too much on the weekly. And I don't think it's going to make a new low, but yeah, it's a bearish gap under the multi-bar turn. NUV, sure looks lower.
Spiders or SP, whatever LX is it? What's the
Yeah, Spexel. Yeah.
SPXL? Short the 30-minute low or the low of the day with a stop above the high.
Mm-hmm. I remember this Sens I told you all about yesterday. I bought pre-market. Nice 15-minute chart. Yeah, but it could be a potential double bottom. Don't like it. Amazon, I don't like that tail over there. Kind of a tight trading range, but in a downtrend. So down a lot on the weekly. WFC is substantially better. But the entry, I'm